Hello, welcome to today's video. We are on pages 96 and 97 of the Keyboard Musicianship Book 1. This is another American song repertoire piece called Bungalow in the Quag. And so this here does, as you can already see, have two voices or three in the right hand, and so this is going to be rather interesting when we play this music. Where exactly does the legato follow or lie? Well, we're going to discover that right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and just play through it once so we can get a feel for it. Here we go, ready? Placing your hands in their position, G position there. And then for the right hand, it's going to be more like D position. It will move around, though, because of how the music is spelled out. Okay, so as you can see, I did take a few liberties with the rhythms in this piece, and that was because I wanted it to be a little bit more pianistic. The first liberty I took was, as you can see, at the very beginning of the piece on the measure number 1, which is after the pickup bar, you have these opposing voices, and notice that the stems are pointing in opposite directions. One stem is pointing up and the other is pointing down. That's to distinguish between the soprano and the alto voice. So instead of playing 2 eighth notes like that, I took the alto voice and simply made it a quarter note instead of 2 eighth notes. Now, if this were to be sung by voices, obviously that would not happen. The alto singers would sing both eighth notes. But because we're playing it on the piano, I'm going to go ahead and say you can do things similar to that if you want to make it easier for the melody to play legato in the right hand. So let's go ahead and talk about that first system there. In my opinion, playing both alto voices as quarter notes sounds a little more supported with those quarter notes as opposed to that's something more you would hear in choral singing, or if this were to be sung. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and just say, if you'd like to make them as quarter notes to add support to those repeated legato notes in the top voice, the soprano, go ahead and do that. For the left hand, it's very simple. We're having C, G, C sharp, G, rest, D, G, rest. Let's go ahead and put both hands together. Here we go. 1, 2. Notice that I'm not going to do a thumb slide like you did sometime in the past in the book. Instead, I'm simply going to lift it and play that B right there. which makes it kind of like a half diminished chord there for B. And then we rest and we start again. This time we play a little bit differently. There at the end of that system, whereas the first two measures do kind of sound exactly the same. And once again, or we can play them both together if you want to. Just keep in mind, if you do that, you may run the risk of playing the top two or the soprano notes more non legato as opposed to legato. Okay, so that's the choice I've made. And then of course we have this fourth up here, F and B, D, G, rest. Notice that the new hand position is in G position up here, where it says where. Now there's a legato here from that G to the C in the third system, but notice that there's also a alto G there, so you're going to have to play it more like a repeated legato. And notice there's going to be a little bit of a jump. If you experience jumps like this that are kind of awkward, it would probably be a nice idea to add a little bit of pedal. Let me go ahead and show you what that sounds like when you do that. We're going to start once again, pick up to the third system, where we can sniff the scented trees. Right there. Ready? 1, 2. Once again. And so you notice when we have we're here, F and A, but then we have to get way down here. And so if we were to let go, there would be that gap there, but we need to maintain the melodic line there, legato. So in order to do that, go ahead and add a little pedal if you'd like. That's the first part. There is going to be some chromatic notes here. It is very important that you practice one hand at a time so you can maintain the legato phrase in here. Let's go ahead and do that entire phrase. Did you notice what I did there at the end of that system? Where I had that F natural where it says dog, exercise the dog. Now I did that on 4. 4 is the closest one in this hand position, but we're going to bring in our first finger down to B, which brings us to B position, so there might need to be a finger substitution there. Notice how I did the finger substitution from 4 to 5, allowing me to play into B position right here. Let's go ahead and put both hands together for that phrase. Left hand, making sure that the notes are nice and non-legato. A little bit of a stretch there. I would play that with fingers 2 and 3. Rest. Notice that's legato. Here we go. Let's do that again. And then going on to the next page, similar to the very beginning. Make sure that you play that chord nice and accurate. D, A flat, and C. This is a half diminished chord without without that note right there. And then once again we come to this part here, the last system of our piece. Keep it at still legato. Notice how I'm listening, I'm still hearing that note, even though I'm lifting the left hand. And this part here sounds like a 6th chord, and so we have pedal to allow that to sound while we play these low notes down there. So as you can see, there is going to be a lot of movement here, a lot of finger crossing, so maybe a finger substitution here and there, but we want to maintain the legato line as best as possible, because that's the part that's singing. And if you want to add a little bit of singing with your own voice, let's go ahead and try that out. Okay, here we go. Let's build a little bungalow in Quag, in Yaphack, or in Hicksville, or at Patchogue, where we can sniff the scented trees and pluck the nettles from the trees, where there is room to exercise the dog. How pleasant it will be through life to jog with Bill the Bull and Hildebrand the Hog. Each morn we'll waken from our doze, and Reginald the rooster crows down in our little bungalow in Quag. Alright, so there you have it. There's a little example of singing. Wasn't the best in pronouncing these very New York sounding cities or communities. I'm sure they know how to pronounce them well up there. Alright, so practice well, and we will see you at next lesson.